Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, here it is, a brand new year. A lot of us thinking about just cleaning things up, organizing. I'm always transparent. I spent New Year's Day right here in my office and studio organizing and cleaning because it was so overdone. And that was my excuse. Let me just do it then. But I'm not the professional at that. I have found somebody who is a certified professional organizer and certified move manager and can help you with all different aspects of organization and estate clearance and management. So let's talk to her. We need a pro. Janine Sarna Jones is with us. Janine, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to a new year, and I hope you are too.
Absolutely. And if you saw how many loads of stuff I brought out to the dumpster, it was it was a nice purge. Is that kind of what you do? Part of what you do in terms of helping people organize their professional spaces and their personal spaces?
Well, first, I have to tell you that as a professional organizer, it really isn't our responsibility to make you throw stuff out. It's really to help you make the things that are important to you accessible. And some of that means that you have to let go of things to make room for the things that are important. So I I always find that people have a reaction to, "Oh, you're gonna make me throw things away." It's like, no, that's not my job. If you really truly wanna hold on to something, you can. It may not be serving you, and we'll talk about that, but it's really much more important to make those things that are important accessible. It makes me laugh when people keep memorabilia clothes in their closet and it just takes up room. And it's like, I think that these things should go into a box rather than hang in your closet and use up space. Why don't we just put them so that you can know when you see that box, you know those are the special clothes that you have some attachment to, and that maybe once they're in a box, you can toss them later so you realize that they don't really serve you.
All right, we'll center on the closet for the moment here because I'm fine with that. Isn't it? Do you find, Janine, that we all have different categories of the clothes that we keep? It's the sentimental ones, put those over there.
Yes.
Then you have the when I lose weight, I'm going to be in that there.
Absolutely,
Then
yeah.
the I've never worn that, the tags are still hanging on that, and I think I'm going to
Mm.
wear that some days. Is it? Do you find that everybody has their own rationalization for all these different things that they keep?
Yes, unless there's somebody who's pretty minimalist, like, I have a certain amount of space in my closet, and I don't have a lot of attachment to clothing, but I have had many clients over the years who had a lot of attachment. I literally had one client who had, I think it was about 4 closet full, like, walk-in closets, 4 closets filled with clothes that still had tags on them, and she was kind of like a hoarder in that sense, but it was so neat. The house was very neat and orderly, so you wouldn't have known unless
Mm,
you went into the closet. So it was a but it was outrageous how much stuff there was, and, um, you know, the value of those things, as soon as you hang them in your closet, even if they have the tags on them, unless it's some high-end designer clothing, it has no value to
yeah.
anyone.
Yep. You know what? It
So
has value to somebody if you donate it. That's kind of
it does.
right.
That's the best way to do it, and or if you can take it to the real if it's something that's really high-end fashion. Um, yeah, so that's basically it. I do believe that there are several different categories that people have. It's like somebody's had children and then they're like, "Oh, I used to be this size." It's like, "Well, that size no longer serves you. So let's like focus on who you are now."
Right.
And when you lose weight, you want to go out and buy new clothes so that you can really celebrate your new body. But it's it's really funny. I mean, there's so many different ways that people can approach it.
I've realized that you don't know how good it feels until you get rid of it. And I moved I moved over the summer, so I got rid of a lot of stuff. especially clothes. So that felt good. And even this past weekend in organizing my office, and there's, a few rooms, number of rooms here, I had these lofty goals of I'm going to get most of this done, no problem. Even with my friend Tina and us working together, we only did one room.
Hmm.
But I will say this, when I walk in that room now, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, wow. There's no, papers are not all over the place. And there's still more organization and drawers to be done. Can't do it at this time for a number of different reasons, and I'll get to that at some point. But just the feeling, when you work with, especially a professional, I can't even imagine what that must be like to have. I got to do that. It's a great feeling. It really is.
Yeah, it is. To let go
Yeah.
is really, really helpful to a lot of people. But also, you have to remember that people will think that I'll put organizing on my to-do list for Saturday and I'll get a whole bunch of stuff done. The reality is that organizing is more of a practice. It's like doing yoga
Mm,
or exercising than it is something that is a task, because the process of organizing, it's like washing the dishes. You have to start again and do it and start again and do it and start again. And so when you do it, you have to reevaluate and then do it again and reevaluate. So it's the cyclical experience. It's not something that's you do it and it's done.
yes, it's an evolution because it'll go back to the way it was in a short time.
Exactly.
But most of us don't have those organizational skills. Like we're not really sure what we should be doing, how we should be doing it, right?
You know what? I think people are much more organized than they believe they are.
Hmm.
I and it's I think that with a lot of the shows that are out there about getting organized or being organized, like Marie Kondo and Home Edit, things like that. People love to watch other people's messes get cleaned up, but the reality is that you get up, you go to work, you make yourself food, you take care of your kids. I mean, that's what organizing is. It's just making sure that you get the things done that are important. And when it gets to the point where it's out of control and you're unhappy, that's when you might want to call in a professional. But it's not necessary for you to feel like you're always not magazine worthy.
Right.
Like you
Okay.
don't have to be like have a pantry that's perfectly color coded and all of like who wants to take the time to empty out the cereal and put it into a plastic container? You don't have to feel that it has to look like that. It's if there's a certain amount of mess, it's like, okay, but you can still function and you still can find your keys and you can still make your appointments on time. You can pay your bills on time, all of that stuff. That's what's important. And that's what you should focus on. But some people, the way it looks is much more important. But I can tell you, I've been in homes that you literally could photograph, and once you open a cabinet, it's a nightmare inside.
Hmm.
And that's not organized. It may be pretty and look pretty, but it's not organized.
It's show pretty. It's like,
So pretty,
right?
exactly.
It's almost like it's been staged. When
Exactly.
you work with people, it's in all different capacities, right? So it could be a business, it could be a home.
Yes.
What other organizational, and we're going to hit all the other things that you do, but just centering for the moment on organization, what other areas do you help organize in somebody's life?
Well, another we basically organize people in every point of their life, whether they're a growing family or they're a student moving into their first home. I mean, there's all these different places where we can help somebody while they're in some sort of transition, to people getting married, to people getting divorced, even death. We help
Mm.
people, or when they become no longer the person that they were before. And that leads us to estate clearance. And I think that that is probably a, a lot of people don't really understand what that involves unless they've had a parent that they had to take to and move to assisted living, or they have lost a parent, and then they're going through all of this stuff and they're thinking, why did they keep
Mm,
all these things? And they make
yes.
decisions about, just getting a dumpster and throwing things away. Um, but we really want to help people who are dealing with the grieving process deal with the stuff, because you cannot take it with you. So therefore, it's left behind for somebody else to deal with. I actually had a conversation with somebody not too long ago who said, well, my kids are going to have to deal with all this. I'm not in the mood to do it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not really a great gift that you're giving them. They're going to be dealing with your stuff and the sadness of losing you, and then there's going to be all of your stuff behind, and they
You,
won't know what it is, what it meant to you, or anything.
you bring up such a great point. I almost have chills hearing it, because many folks who are older may do funeral planning so that
Hmm.
their loved ones, their children don't have to handle that or deal with that. It's already set and ready to go. But
Hmm.
what is not taken care of is the estate clearance. When somebody suddenly passes, and even if they don't, you still have to, their stuff is still there. And eventually you probably put the house up for sale. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you do with that stuff? And, to your point, Janine, then you realize, mom had a lot of stuff. Like
Hmm.
I don't want to say hoarder, and I'm even speaking, even my mom who passed a few years ago, um, kept
Oh, I'm
every enter.
sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, she kept every entertainment magazine known, like a stack of,
Wow.
National Enquirer, Star Magazine, and People and everything, which is fine. She loved to read them at night, whatever. But there was lots of other paperwork to go through. Then there's belongings to go through. What do you throw out? Then you also, I would say you'd have to hopefully be on the same page with siblings, and then you have that dynamic involved, and I'm sure you've been
Hmm.
part of that. So there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done.
There's a huge checklist. I have a friend who put together a book for widows, so that they could understand, um, all the stuff that needed to be done. Uh, because it's and a timeline for when things should be done. But I think that the best gift that people can give their children or their friends, if they don't have children, is to make decisions about what's going to be happening. I think people don't like to talk about death, but it's like it's a part of life.
Yep.
It's something that's coming. I have all my paperwork together, and my parents have showed me where the cabinet is. It has all the important information, and we've gone through the process of understanding what the next steps were going to be, when the time comes, because the time will come.
Yep.
It's inevitable, but there's nothing bad. I mean, the best gift that you can give your family and friends is the opportunity to fully be in a grieving space
Sure.
without, sorry, I'm getting myself all verklempt, as they say.
I haven't used that word verklempt in so long. That's such
Oh,
a
you don't live in New York then.
that's a no, I do.
Oh, you do? You
Yes.
do?
What I'm saying is used to use it all the time. I haven't heard it in a while. So yeah. Verklempt. Absolutely. Yeah, but yeah,
Um,
to your point, it is so it's so important, and we don't think about it because we don't want to think about it, but there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of from belongings to paperwork. What are some of the first things that somebody should consider if they want to start planning that? Even if they use your company, what are some of the things that because I wouldn't even know where to begin.
well, okay, so the first step really is to get an idea of what is left behind. And in any organizing process, the most exhausting part is the decision making. So, what we do as a team, we come in and try to kind of sort things for the family. Sometimes we'll do an inventory of what's there, if there isn't an estate inventory. But estate inventories don't usually they're not as thorough as we tend to be. Um,
What does that mean?
and
Let's go back to that estate inventory. What does that mean?
well, often when someone has passed away, an inventory for tax purposes needs to be made. So an
Hmm.
estate inventory is very different because it's just basically about the value of the items, so that the the heirs, um, it's all about the taxes that the estate has to pay, you know. So you need the value of what's there. And that's outside of like the money and the accounts and things like that. But an estate inventory is usually a photo inventory with information about each item. So you may walk into a house where there's a lot of art,
Hmm.
and some of the art is worthless. You know, it costs more to get rid of it than it is like a poster that's in a frame. Um, or there might be a Picasso or a Vermeer or something like that. And that item, generally, the family either that item is going to go to somebody or it's going to be auctioned off. So we have a job that's going right now where Christie's is going to be taking a couple of pieces, and then a lower auction house is taking all the rest of the art, and then the family is taking some of the art as well. And there's a lot of art in this house. Um, but the estate inventory is really an opportunity for you to see everything of value and get a sense of what has no value. So it could say, this is it has like let's say $1,000, it's worth $1,000, or this thing is not worth anything. It would cost more to get rid of it than it would
Hmm.
to. So it basically has like a little disclaimer at the bottom saying has no value. It's $0. And it would cost you more to get it picked up by the junk luggers than it would to sell it. So that's what an estate inventory is. And it's something that usually is done after someone has passed away. And um, it's it's something not everybody does, but it's definitely very helpful.
Hmm. And then when you come in to do an estate clearance, what's the difference?
We're going through the drawers, every single drawer, every single cabinet. In some cases, when people have nice things, it could be anything. Sometimes a lot of people don't want china, but they might have, childhood memories of having the big family dinner, so they would want the china. In those cases, we would take pictures of the china in the cabinet as well as a plate so you can see it, and then they can make decisions. And we'd say, oh, there are 10 plates, so 10 servings, um, 10 place settings. And then a person can look through all of the photos and see, oh, yeah, I totally forgot my mom had that, or oh,
Hmm.
I think I want that. And then they can make notes about what they want to keep and what we're going to ship to them. So it's a deeper inventory than it would be generally for an estate. Um, Typical estate. Sorry, somebody keeps calling me. Like, stop calling me. Um, but it's very interesting to go through people's that you start to learn so much about somebody, and so many people who pass away, they have amazing lives. And it's you get to know somebody from their stuff
Hmm.
and what they loved, what they were interested in, and if they have a lot of family photos, sometimes those will just go through and take the family photos out of these um,
Albums.
frames, so
Yeah.
that, yeah. Or no, we keep the albums together, but we there might be a lot of family photos and frames that, the kids want the photos, they don't really care about the frames. um, so there's a lot of little steps that need to be taken. We bring in people who can buy things if possible, if it looks like there's a possibility that some things are of value, that the estate doesn't want to put into auction with a higher end place if they haven't already done that.
There's value right there where you don't have to worry about that. That
Hmm.
those things that don't hit the mark here in terms of putting it in an estate or wherever, but that has some value, and the surviving family. can at least have something from that, at least, monetarily. So interesting.
Sometimes, and it's often not a lot, but because a lot of stuff, you would be surprised. There's a lot of things that people spent really good money on that have absolutely no value today.
Hmm.
It's a dining table and chairs, unless it's a certain kind of name or look or from a certain era,
Right.
there's it's like, oh, horrible to think that people wouldn't be using it. A perfectly serviceable item
But it's
is
got little value.
exactly.
That being said, would you also take over the selling of items, let's say on Facebook Marketplace? Yes, the family can do it by themselves, but do you want to, in that state, let's say somebody passed, you're still grieving, would you take care of that, or you don't get involved in that?
We don't usually do that. I mean, we have done it a few times, but it's costs them almost more time to have us do it
Okay. Yeah.
than to just donate the stuff. I mean, you have to realize that those are helpful avenues for getting rid of some things, but
Sure.
if you want us to do it, it's a lot of work. We have Kayo here in New York City. I don't think that they're everywhere, but Kayo will pick up furniture. You send them photos, and then if they accept it, they will come and pick it up and take it away, and then they clean it up and post it online, and it's amazing
Oh
because
my gosh.
even though you don't get that much money,
You
because
don't
they
have to
take a
do anything. You
you
don't,
don't
and
ha it
oh,
disappears, the stuff goes away, and I'm like, today I'm gonna, get a check sent to a client who we just did that for, a
fantastic.
few months
Oh,
ago. Yeah, it's,
oh,
like,
yeah. And
amazing.
for anybody that's ever sold on Facebook Marketplace, and I don't know if anybody still uses Craigslist, but then you got to wait for people to show up, and then they don't show up, and then
Exactly.
you get pinged. Is this sold yet? And then it's just like,
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
I sold a bed. Long story short, but a brand new bed and a mattress that my son
Mhm.
wanted, but it was too big for his room. Didn't realize it, and it was just like, you
Oh,
know what?
that's
We'll just sell it. But it was just that, people waiting for people to come by. So yeah, I wonder what's the name of the company again? Kayo?
Kayo,
Yeah.
Kaiyo, yeah.
Depending on where you might be listening or watching this, definitely look into it because that sounds nice. Is it only
Well,
furniture? Is it only furniture or household item?
it's furniture.
Okay,
Yeah, nice furniture.
gotcha.
But I do want to say one more thing about estate clearance, which is that it's different than organizing, in a little bit, but we the sorting part is definitely like organizing, but it's when we get to the point of who's going to make the decision, we have to work with the person who can make the decision about what's happening with the stuff. But then we can also coordinate getting the things that the family wants to them and either delivered, via UPS or with a mover or whatever it is. So it's estate clearance it can often be like an estate clearance, even when a senior is moved to a family member's home or to an assisted living home, or a senior living home where we can help them just jettison everything that is left behind because they've taken the things that are important. So stuff is just stuff for some, but we go through and make sure that we're treating that with the utmost respect because it was somebody's life. They filled up every single corner, and we want to make sure that the things that are important to the family are captured. And sometimes people in grief don't really always make the best decisions. That's when they bring out the dumpster, you know.
Yeah. And understandably, and there's so many decisions to be made, and sometimes they have to be made relatively soon.
Yeah.
And then again, we add in you're dealing with families. So now you have different dynamics. I think we should keep that. No, I think we should sell that. And there's that,
Mhm.
then that all comes into play, which makes, I think, things more challenging for you sometimes. You're in the middle of that.
Yeah. And in a lot of cases, the family doesn't live locally.
And that, yeah.
And, helping them they don't necessarily know what avenues to take, and being able to recommend options is really the gift that we can give them while they're dealing with the grief.
What area do you work with? Is it just the New York City metro area? Would you travel if somebody, because I've never heard of a company doing estate clearance.
Um, well, we are in the tri-state area, so
Okay.
we do New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. We work up in Westchester. We did a house up in Westchester that um, it was an only child. I mean, he was an adult, but he was an only child, and this family had had this house in their home. I mean, for over 50 years. It was like 60 years or something, because the grandparents had it, then his mother had it, his parents, and then his mother, and then he was left with all this stuff for many, many years. And so that was up in Westchester, and it was really amazing to go through everything and just get it cleared out, which is what he really needed. Um, so we Long Island, we work everywhere.
Mm.
Um, but I do know people that do what I do. So if somebody is looking for somebody like me in their area, they can go to napo.net, napo.net, and find an organizer that focuses on estate clearance, because that's one of the options.
Gotcha. We are just about out of time.
Oh, it was
And we
so
said,
fun talking to you.
you too. And we said it before. It's like, well, you know what? It just flies by. If somebody wants to learn more just about the process, whether it's organization or it's
hmm
estate clearance, they go to your website. What's your website?
It's it's organizeme-inc.com. So ORGANIZE, M as in Mary, E as in Edward, dash or hyphen inc.com. Organize Me inc.com is where you can also reach out to us. You just go to the contact page and you have options for what you're interested in, and you can just let us know and fill out the short questionnaire, and we're happy to talk to you and see if we can help.
Yeah, it's a brand new year, and why not organize it and feel better? Somebody told me a long time ago, and I never believed it until I felt it. But he said, and he was very intuitive, and he said, "Yeah, all that junk you got here, you're blocking energy. You're blocking the energy flow. You don't realize it until you move that stuff out of the way, how things just feel easier and navigationally, psychologically. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's a new year. Get it done.
Get
Uh,
it together.
yes, Janine, so
Yeah.
great talking with you, and just so much value in what you offer. And I'm looking forward. Maybe next time we get together, there's lots of other things we can talk about. We started in the bedroom, and we can make our way to the kitchen at some point.
That takes the most time.
The kitchen? Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Never realized that. I would think it would
So
be another
tackle
room.
it sooner rather than later.
Mm, awesome. All right, we'll talk soon. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you. So
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.